Hello, friends and beautiful people. Hi there. It is Sunday Support. It is Kathryn and myself, 5D Visionary, Elevated Consciousness Coach. It's time to talk about a few things that are top of mind for me, and they're probably top of mind for you. And I want to give you some support and some inspiration, because I know that there's so much to talk about right now. There's so much going on. But it's important to know what's underneath everything that is going on. And so that's what I want to talk about. So I'm going to see who's going to jump on live. Hi, Galia. Welcome. Hi, Jante. I want to talk about the difference between what I call armchair spiritual awakening. And that's just kind of going through the motions without taking any of the action. And paying a lot of lip service, hi Pamela, to the process of expanding your consciousness and spiritual awakening, but not really taking action at the level that is required in order to match that frequency. And I want to talk about your intuition and how it is not something to ignore right now. I also want to talk about sovereignty and personal agency. Okay. So if you haven't noticed, the world is going bonkers right now. Okay. This is a natural process that is involved when we are talking about ascension. Ascension into elevated consciousness is not rainbows and unicorns and all love and light. And especially as we are moving rapidly and accelerating through time, we are accelerating time right now because of the things that are happening, because the places we're dropping emotional anchor into themes that are ready to exit stage left off of the planetary stage and are ready to be paradigms that are now we can close out, put them to bed. Structures can close out and we can put those to bed too. Anytime we experience a planetary collapse to the degree that, on a planetary timeline collapse, the planet isn't collapsing, the planet is shifting into a different frequency. And in order to do that, certain frequencies do not get to come along for the ride. Okay? Hi, Tammy. So a lot of the things that are relegated to false timelines and the false ascension matrix, which is a matrix that exists right alongside the organic ascension matrix, the organic energy matrix, that is divine organic creational energy, that is an endless, boundless source of self-perpetuating energy versus a false ascension matrix, which is relegated to a finite and limited source of energy, meaning it taps out. It is not self-perpetuating like the organic energy matrix that is aligned with the tapestry of the all that is and the unified field of mind, which is divine organic creational energy. The false ascension matrix has to draw its energy from somewhere else. And right now, this false ascension matrix is so powerful and so prevalent and so in your face and so bonkers and so bananas, is because it draws off a very, very powerful energy from this planet that has been used to create divide and conquer timelines since time immemorial. And that is fear. Fear is the number one energy that feeds the false ascension matrix. It is assigned to a spectrum or bandwidth of consciousness that's also aligned with control, manipulation, domination, It is a place that we have known very, very well for a long time. Hi, Sarah. But it is now on the cusp of closing out. And what we know about the collapsing of planetary timelines is that when some energy function that's created a level of identity and a level of awareness, a way of defining ourselves really, and fear has definitely been that for us on this planet for thousands years, millennia even. When this closes out, you're always going to have a crescendo of energy. You're always going to have a crescendo of energy. I like to use the example of, you know, when you have a light bulb in your house and you kind of know when that light bulb is about to burn out, it gets really bright. Like it's a light bulb in your kitchen or in your bathroom, and it starts to hum and it gets loud, like you can hear it. You can hear the light bulb on its last gas. And it gets really bright before it completely dies out. That's the same thing about a planetary timeline that is ready to collapse. And the reason we are seeing such a crescendo and such, you know, a powerful swan song, if you want to call it that, of all of these energies that are grasping at straws in order to keep alive, so that those who run the false ascension matrix, those who would like to see us be manipulated, dominated, and controlled, are grasping at these straws and hoping that through some sort of last gasp in this crescendo of energy, that they can instill as much fear, as much of a feeling that you have no agency, as much of a feeling that you have no choice, as much of a feeling that you don't have any other decisions that can come from a place of sovereignty and personal agency. That it's actually better for you to make a decision for the collective good by giving up your personal liberty, by giving up your personal freedoms, by allowing someone else to have agency over your body, and spinning a fairy tale and a story that you're doing it for the collective good, though. And if you're falling into that fairy tale out of this place of comfort, because I don't want to rock the boat, I just want to go with the status quo. Maybe it is the best for everybody, but I will tell you this. If you think that fear and coercion and asking people to give up their liberties in the name of the collective good is a story that helps us to rise above and move into ascended consciousness on this planet, I guarantee you that you are incorrect. Now, I know we need to make choices for our bodies. We need to make choices for our health. We need to make choices for ourselves and our family and those we care about, our community. But I'm asking you to dig a little deeper than that, especially if you are someone who identifies with being a light bearer, shining a light in the darkness, and you identify and qualify yourself as that kind of person, that you are here to help anchor new energies on this planet to take us into the realms of elevated consciousness. If you identify yourself with being any kind of a way shower, then I am asking you to please dig deeper and reevaluate. If you really think that a mainstream narrative based on levels of fear and coercion and limiting your ability to freely move around on this planet, if that's really for the collective good, I invite you to really sit with that now. Because here we are in a time where we've got people taking to the streets in different countries, and you're not going to see a lot of this on the mainstream news, that's for sure, but it's happening. There are people in this very community from New Zealand, from Australia, and I'm speaking to you directly. I see you. I see what's going on. I see what's happening in France. I see what's happening in Spain as well. And you have people taking to the streets. Because if something doesn't smell right, if something doesn't look right, if something doesn't sound right, that's because it isn't. And people have had enough. There is a darkness that is grasping at straws here and is hoping to keep false timelines on this planet alive. But here's the thing about any timeline, whether it's your personal timeline or your planetary timeline. Timelines can only exist to the degree that we are funding them with our attention, with our participation, with our awareness of them. And you may be saying, well, Kathryn, how can I ignore such a massive timeline that has its hands in so many aspects of my life? You stop acquiescing to an agenda that is not aligned with the highest and best good of all. And you may be saying, Kathryn, what is that? I'm going to call bullshit on that right now. You know. Every single one of you knows. Because every single one of us on this planet have intuitive acumen. Every single person has intuition, has an inner voice. It may not be loud and screaming and freaking out and going into survival mode, panic and anxiety like your ego voice. That's always going to be the loudest voice in the room. It's always going to be the loudest voice in your head. But underneath that, there is a subtle energy. And that is your intuitive acumen. That is your inner wise one, your sage, your master, which you came here to this timeline on this planet to inhabit, to embody, to embrace, to expand into. And I speak with a level of confidence on this because of the work that I do with timelines, because of the work that I do as an elevated consciousness coach, because of the work that I do as a 5D visionary. There is a higher spiritual truth that is coming through me, not from me at this moment of time, and saying to you what I know to be the absolute cosmic quantum truth, and that is this. You would not have incarnated in this timeline right now if you weren't here to remember who you are as your master aspect. That is the part of you that knows that there is a big planetary game being played and that we are the role players in that game. And moving into your master aspect and living from that level means that you are changing your role as a player in this game. And so we're being asked to really put our money where our mouth is. If you're going to sit there and you're going to tell me that you are here to be a spiritual master and have emotional self-mastery in this lifetime and to be a way shower and to be a light bearer, well, prove it. And don't prove it to me. Prove it to yourself. Prove it to the communities that you claim to represent and serve. We're going to need to make some difficult decisions going forward. That's a guarantee. I know a lot of you reach out to me and you're like, Kathryn, every day it's this craziness, more of the same. Is this going to go away anytime soon? No. Your buttons are being pushed and you're being triggered all over the goddamn place because you need to make a different decision that thrusts you out of your comfort zone of armchair awakening and to start making some noise. I've had some difficulties with my family because of this, because I'm not willing to buy into this narrative that me giving up my freedoms, that me giving my government or big pharma agency over my body is somehow better for the collective good. Horseshit. Horseshit. I've had COVID. It was a mild case of it. I knew I was going to get it. I knew that it was going to last for a little bit. I lost all sense of smell and all sense of taste. Not everyone who gets COVID and is unvaccinated ends up in the hospital on a respirator. So stop believing that narrative too. There is a narrative at work that feeds a greater agenda that is starting to unfold more and more and more. Stop believing that the mainstream narrative telling you to give up agency over yourself is better for the collective good. I guarantee you it never is. And I may lose some people here. That's okay. That's okay. This group is going to shift, and we are going to lose some people in this group. And that's okay. I'm not speaking to you then. And I wish you well. I hope you find the answers that you're looking for. But we need to make more noise and call bullshit where it's appropriate. And spirituality isn't saying, you know what, it's all going to blow over and we're all going to be okay. The light has already won. Okay. How do you ensure that timeline takes hold and anchors? We live in 3D reality. We live in a physical realm. That means that this is a realm of action. And we no longer have the luxury of sitting back and just taking courses and thinking it's all academic and fun and let's play and let's have rainbows and unicorns. That's not who I am. And I'm asking to rally with people who are feeling like a divine warrior of the light now, because action is necessary. Toxic positivity, absolutely. And spiritual fucking sidestepping. Sorry, not sorry. I will not go gently into that good night. As Dylan Thomas said. Right, Tammy, yes. It is time to see that there is a bigger narrative at work and stop with the la 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 la, this isn't happening, this isn't affecting me. I've lost some friends over this. My family has asked me not to come home to visit them because of this. My mother doesn't want to see me because I won't get the poke. And I'm willing to stand up in my sovereignty and have voice over my personal agency, even if it means that I might lose some things in the process. What am I losing really? Not my ability to stand in my spiritual truth, which is what I fucking came here to do. And it's no mistake that I'm at where I'm at this point in my business, and that I have the wonderful clients that I do who know that I'm here to speak a higher truth and live in alignment with that and be an energetic match for that. And those are the folks that I wish to rally with at this point. If you are a frequency match to what I'm saying here, thank you, Nicole. Thank you. Then I'm asking you to speak up when necessary. Know from that intuitive acumen that we all have, when that voice within starts to get a little bit louder and says to you, it's time to call bullshit. It's time to act. There's going to be uncomfortable decisions, triggering opportunities, more and more in the days ahead. As we close out a lot of these false timelines, which are based on divide and conquer, you want to see a perfect divide and conquer scenario play out? Let me give you an example. You give really vague information about something that affects and infects the entire globe. And then you let the people squabble it out amongst themselves. That's how you create the perfect storm of divide and conquer and false timelines. You pit humans against each other and it gets ugly very quickly. We've seen that. We've seen that. I'm not talking about attacking other people. I'm talking about standing up for yourself and for those who are on that cusp of waking up. We're at this point now where those who are going to wake up, they've done it. They're on that trajectory. They're on that path. They're feeling that conveyance of energy, pushing them along, pulling them in the direction of higher spiritual truth. And there are those on this planet that you know who they are, have made it very clear to you, they're not going to wake up. They're not coming with on the ascension ride, and that's okay. We don't need to attack them. We don't need to vilify them. If you are really committed to being a light bearer and way shower, then what you must do is be a compassionate witness to the brothers and sisters who have decided they are not going to wake up. On a soul level, they are here to be the contrast for us. They are here to show us what happens when we don't wake up. And their path on a soul level, their decision on a super conscious level was to be part of the wave that doesn't wake up. So they're fulfilling their role just as much as you are, okay? So there's no reason at all to vilify, attack, marginalize. You are just feeding the divide and conquer timeline, which stays alive and well with what? Our participation, our awareness, and our focus on more divide and conquer. The puppeteers of those timelines are really happy to see us go at it like little children squabbling. We don't have to give them that satisfaction. We can still compassionately witness our friends, our brothers and sisters, our family members who are not going to wake up in this lifetime. And if we're really honest with each other, we know who those folks are. I love my family members, and they don't understand the choices that I make. And they don't understand that there is a higher spiritual truth that I must follow. And that's okay. I don't need people to understand me. And I don't need people to follow me. I don't want followers. I want people who are willing to walk arm in arm with me as defenders of the light, where we are equals. That's what I want. Is that you? It's okay to be triggered. It's okay to feel the ego grief for losing this part of self that was lost in a perception of reality that wasn't accurate anyway or true. It's okay to feel grief for that. It's made up a lot of the memories of who you think you are, but a lot of those memories are inaccurate. Thank you, false timelines. I'm going to talk about this in the next round of Timelines Expanded, by the way, because it's a lot of these false memories that are making us grieve for a part of self that actually never really existed in reality anyway. Yes. Exactly, Sarah. We can send them all love, but still stand in our truths. And that's what we're being asked to do. That's who we're really being asked to become from our soul-led version of self. Every day, we're being asked from this vantage point, our higher God self aspect, what is the God choice? Where can I act? What can I believe? What can I do that aligns me with the highest and best choice for me, the highest and best choice of all, and with the least amount of resistance for all involved? And if you think the God choice is aligned with giving up your personal liberties, your personal freedom, agency over your body, say so on where you go on the planet and where it's okay for you to have a job that makes you get the poke. Your employer doesn't own your body. Your government doesn't own your body. Big Pharma doesn't own your body. They would all like to. And the second we start to go down that road, it becomes a very, very slippery slope, and it's hard to take those liberties back then. It is better to stand in your truth as a defender of the light and say, I do not consent. And there are plenty of us. There are plenty of us. You're not going to read about it all in mainstream media. You're not going to hear about it all on Facebook. I'm surprised that this video hasn't been shut down right now. It probably will be once it gets replayed. I'm okay with that too, because whoever is meant to be here right now is meant to be here right now and hear this. This is meant to inspire you. This is meant to put the fire in your belly where it belongs and make you understand that there is a bigger theme playing out here that can only come to pass if it can be reliant on your complicitness in it. Just say, oh, this is just better for everybody. I'll just go along with this. Mm-mm. And once you start to allow yourself to be fleeced of those freedoms, it is almost impossible to get them back. It is better to launch a preemptive strike and stand in your truth now before this shit hits the fan than to try to reel it back in after the damage is already done. How many times have you been there in your life where you know that's true, right? Boundaries. I do not consent. From my sovereign God-self aspect, I know when I align with my intuitive acumen, what is the higher spiritual truth here? We all know this. If you're not listening to that part of you, then you are listening to the voice of fear. If you are not giving credence to that part of you that already knows the higher spiritual truth, then you're afraid somewhere you're going to lose more than you're going to gain. Thank you, Maya. If there are enough people who stand up and say, no, I do not consent, then this grappling with fear and grappling with control, domination, and manipulation, it does not stand. It does not continue. You have to feel your power. You have to feel your agency. You have to feel and know that you are here to occupy your master timeline. That doesn't happen by acquiescence. That doesn't happen by sitting back in your armchair and say, yeah, I'm spiritually woke. Look at all this crazy shit happening. Isn't that crazy? But I'm not going to do anything about it. It doesn't happen that way. That is not how you fulfill your master role in this lifetime. And it requires a period of reckoning. It is not a test. The universe does not test you. That implies the universe has judgment, and judgment implies the universe has ego. The universe has no ego. The universe is just compassionate witness energy, watching, reviewing all of our choices, compassionately witnessing us doing that, no matter what we do, because we have free will here in this 3D time space. The universe does not test you. The universe asks. And you are being asked, you are being called up to put your money where your mouth is, and to make some noise and make a stink, and to put yourself in a place where you're uncomfortable. And that is the sweet spot for working for the highest and best good of all. Because the more of you that say, I do not consent, the more of you that say, I'm in my master aspect, which is exactly the planetary and personal timeline that you came here to fulfill, you change your DNA. You activate time codes in the DNA that actually accelerates this planetary timeline towards its divine ideal even faster. Through the DNA, when you take these actions from your sovereign God self aspect, your master aspect, you download to every single person who ripples out from you, from your field, you are downloading through the DNA how to be a sovereign master of your reality. That's how you serve the greater good. Okay? Are you guys following me? Are you feeling fired up? It's only a matter of time before it comes here to this country. The things that you see happening, the fleecing of certain liberties. This is a different and unique country, America. And so there's going to be a fight. There already is. And it's already nasty. And it's already divide and conquer. But if you're really, really here to be a way shower and a light bearer, then now is your time to show up and be a defender of the light. That doesn't happen through giving up. Believe me, I've had my share of crying. And then I was done. And I'm like, okay, fuck this. I'm done crying. I'm done feeling like I have to hold the grief of the collective within me, and I have to hold space for that. I would rather hold the power of the collective within me and be a force for good based on that. And the crying is a release. I'm not knocking crying. If you need to do this, do it. Release. But don't marinate in that energy because it gets you nowhere. Feel it, move through it, and then move on. Go forward. What can I do? What can I say? How can I empower myself today? How can I empower someone else today? How can I lead by example in the community that I represent today? And that's why I showed up for you. I showed up for myself, and I showed up for you today, because I know that there are many of you feeling the same thing. And you wouldn't have been aligned to jump on this call if you weren't resonating with the words that I'm speaking. It is time to arm ourselves with the light. We don't have to feed into the need for justification or the validation or the need to be right. That's ego. That's divide and conquer. That gets us nowhere. But it's time to step up into a higher role. It's one thing to say that you're spiritually woke. It's another thing to take on actions that align with those beliefs. And you're going to be asked to do some uncomfortable things going forward. Get prepared. Get ready. Get yourself mentally prepared for that, because it's coming. It's here. It's now. But this is what comes with the New Earth timeline. In order to anchor this higher frequency timeline, whatever doesn't match it, whatever is not part of that same spectrum or bandwidth of frequency, it can't come with. It's not supported in a higher timeline. It's not supported in a higher dimensional realm. So it must die out. And just like the analogy of the light bulb, it gets really, really bright, and you can hear it humming before eventually the filament just dies and collapses. That's where we're at, folks. And when we do this, here's another side, fringe benefit. How can we prepare? Be in your place of power. What is it that you're involved in every day that makes you feel powerful, that makes you feel strong and resilient and gives you fortitude in your life? Those daily activities that allow you to feel that way. These are the energetics that we need to anchor, stabilize, and expand on this planet. Whatever makes you feel strong, whatever makes you feel intelligent, whatever makes you feel powerful. For me, it's speaking live to my community from my heart. Because I know that bolsters my power, but it bolsters yours too. That's my God choice. You can ask your higher God self, what is my God choice? What is the God choice today? Every morning when you wake up, believe me, the answer will come. Know your values. What is a hard no for you? The best way to prepare is to know what you are not fucking available for. Like, hard no, zero, big fat donut hole, not happening. So that when you see it coming, you're like, oh, hell no. No. Know your values. What do you stand for? What are your principles? What are the traits that you most value about yourself? When you say, I really like myself today, I'm on a fucking roll. What are you doing? Who are you serving? What is the energy you're in? What does it feel like? Anchor this often. Find things that allow you to anchor that often to the actions you perform. Who are the people that you're with, that you surround yourself with, that allow you to feel into these feelings more and expand that energy out? What energies do you want to feed? What energies do you want to starve? That's how you prepare. There is great pressure from my clientele at work. My boss has resisted thus far, but is now talking about consenting. Yeah. To make everyone happy. And that's how easy it is to make people feel or swindle or hoodwink people into thinking that this is the best choice for everybody. I guarantee you it is not. What happens when we lean into this more, we open up stations of our identity that have been falsified, that have been veiled by the false timelines, especially a lot of the divide and conquer timelines that are on this planet. So this is encoded in our dormant DNA, which is our ancient divine DNA, our ancient divine DNA blueprint. Has stations of our identity that are aligned with elevating consciousness, that are aligned with ascension, that are ready to be cracked wide open. But if we're still under the veil and the purview of false timelines, and we're still kowtowing to and participating in these false timelines, we can't decode that DNA. We're ready to recollect these codes. They align us with more psychic abilities, psychic perception. They align us with opportunities to quantum jump and quantum leap time for the planet and our personal timelines. Think of these time codes as like intact, pure spiritual bodies of our forgotten selves that are completely and totally aligned with a higher elevated consciousness version of us, our divine God selves. And if we stay in the lower frequency hubs, meaning if we stay in fear, if we allow ourselves to be coerced, bullied out of our own personal freedoms in order to make the better choice for everyone involved. I mean, aren't I part of everyone? So how is that the better choice for all involved if I'm giving up my own freedoms, if I'm allowing someone to have agency over my say-so in my body? These false timelines can only be held in place by the lower frequency hub of the 3D time matrix. This is what is closing out. This is what is collapsing. And these higher forgotten selves, they hold a higher spiritual intelligence, a higher emotional intelligence. They hold mind matrices that allow us to think differently about our world and what's possible and the potentials involved. The more we stay in the fear, the more we acquiesce, the more we allow ourselves to be coerced, the more we allow ourselves to be bullied, you have no chance of opening up to and embodying these forgotten selves that are aligned with the higher DNA codes of you, which is the crystal silicate matrix of you, the ascended 5D and higher versions of you. We are in a different timeline. We're in the New Earth timeline. We just haven't anchored it yet. We are teetering on the cusp of the old Earth planetary timeline, which is trying to grasp at straws to stay alive. And that can only be done if we stay in fear, if we forget our sovereignty and we give away our power, or at least labor under the illusion that we can give away our power to choices that are not aligned with the highest good. And then there's the New Earth timeline, where we give a hard no and a fuck no and say, I do not consent to anyone having agency over me. This New Earth timeline is here, but we're not fully in our master aspects yet. We don't trust, a lot of us don't even trust that that exists. It's time to stop thinking that way now. You're here to anchor and embody your master timeline. We just haven't done it yet. We haven't done it enough on a personal level in order to tip the mass consciousness of the collective towards our master timeline, which is the New Earth timeline, which is 5D. So we have to unhook from these false timelines. That means saying and knowing what our hard no is. Where are our boundaries? What energies do we want to starve? What energies do we want to feed? How can we collapse more of the fear out of our lives? How can we know more of our own agency, more of our own power? What makes us tick? Where can you get rid of these ideas that you are someone that is lesser than? The bullshit story of unworthiness. If you haven't let that go now, good luck knowing your full agency and your full power. You've got to give up these old stories. The commerce of bringing in the New Earth timeline and anchoring it requires you to give up something. You must give up this old identity that was aligned with a false projection of you anyway. Right? That's what my In Alignment program is all about. And by the way, I'm opening it up again, because this is the program to let go of those stories. Only then do you know your agency. Only then do you know emotional self-mastery. Only then do you know your power. And when we give a hard no and we say we do not consent, we're moving into that crystal silicate matrix DNA version of us that is aligned with our 5D avatar. We become aware of history timelines that are also veiled in false projections. We awaken to more of our sovereignty, and it greatly increases our autonomy of choice. Many of you are feeling right now, I don't have a choice. That's because you're not in your sovereign aspect. You don't believe, or you don't know how to access your master aspect. If you're in your master aspect, you know that you have autonomy of choice, which means you don't feel that your back is to a wall. You know you have a choice, and you know that no one truly has agency over you unless you allow that in some way. So what are you willing to give up in order to fully anchor your master aspect? Because that's where all your power is, my dears. What are you willing to give up to know more of your sovereignty and to live in that informed and divinely guided aspect of you? What are you willing to let go of? This fear of like, I'm not that important or I'm not that worthy, that shit has got to go. You can't be a master and hold on to that low vibration shit. It won't work. And you're going to be afraid all the time. And you're going to think you have no autonomy of choice. You're going to think you have no agency or say-so over your own personhood. Thank you, Maya. I'm so glad I met you too. We've known each other for a while now. I'm so glad that we're still in each other's orbit. It was never part of our divine blueprint and evolution into our cosmic identity to stay in this level of awareness. And there are many of you out there, maybe you're feeling the push now, hopefully from this inspirational talk. You were never meant to stay in this level of awareness. It's a micro-concentrated sphere of reference that is based on a false projection, an identity of you that's not real anyway. Are you willing to give that up now and see who you really are? Because it is only from this place that you are truly inhabiting the divine warrior of light archetype. And you'll fight for what's right. You will fight to anchor the God choice, because that's what's really aligned with everyone's highest and best good. That's what's really aligned with the least amount of resistance for all involved. Fear is resistance. If you are in fear about any of this, you are in resistance. If you're allowing yourself to be controlled by any of these narratives, you are in fear and you are in resistance. You are not in your master aspect. I cannot overstate this. So if you're not deliberately opting out of this very micro-concentrated sphere of reference at the moment, which is based on fear, control, manipulation, and domination, coercion, then you're continuing to explore polarity, duality. You're continuing to explore discordant frequencies. You're continuing to think that you are someone that aligns with that because you're creating a personal identity around it. You're not matching the vibration of the organic energy matrix, which is our escape pod. Out of this, out of these false timelines, out of this divide and conquer bullshit. And you're not expanding into stations of consciousness that help to evolve humanity as a whole, let alone evolving yourself. I'm opting out for sure and owning it. Yes, love it. Love that declaration. I want you to put your hands on your heart right now. And I want you to take a deep breath in. And I want you to feel into your power. I want you to feel this down to a cellular level. Know that you are sovereign. Know that you have agency. You have autonomy of choice. This is aligned with your divine birthright. I no longer consent, repeat after me, I no longer consent to participate in the false ascension matrix. Say that with feeling. Say that with anger, righteous anger, if you can muster that. I agree to opt out even if I don't know how. Don't worry. You can say this and your God self will show you the way, because you are making an agreement in your body on a cellular level. I agree to opt out even if I don't know how. Feel that. Let that be your go-to mantra or statement, sovereignty declaration. I agree to opt out even if right now I don't know how. I agree to opt into my master aspect, even if right now I don't know how. You don't need to know the how. The universe will help you. What you need to do as a sovereign agent with autonomy of choice is decide that it is fucking so. Because that's your power. You have the power to decide. And when you decide from the sovereign agent aspect of you, the universe will partner with you in that endeavor. It will match this frequency you are occupying in this sovereignty statement, in this moment of being an agent of your power. The universe will co-create this experience with you. You have to trust and surrender that that will be the case. Yes, yes, Maya. We're being guided. All we need to do is ask and listen. Yes. And declare and decide. Your job as a sovereign agent is to declare and decide the nature of your reality. The universe will do the rest. Yes, you do have to take some action. You have to feel strong and bold and confident and courageous enough, like the lion you are when you're in your sovereign aspect, to take some action on that, to make some noise, to do something that pushes you out of your comfort zone a little bit. But that is exactly the sweet spot that aligns more of those matching frequencies to show up for you. Synchronicities, serendipities, opportunities, scenarios, situations, the right people who help to bolster and help you to be the powerful agent that you are. That's where we join together. That's who we are meant to be as a human family, to understand our unity instead of our division. And it is when we are in division that those who would hold us back from our organic ascension matrix, that's when they get to be the puppeteers. That's when they get to play with these great power plays. When we suffer under the illusion that we're divided, that means that they hold the power. And there's only a few of them. That's the thing. There's so many of us and so few of them. I wish you could understand that. But we, as the masses, the connection of the entire human family, we hold the power here. We are the keepers of 3D. So I invite you to journal on what this means for you to be a sovereign agent. Journal on what this means for you to be your master aspect. What allows you to feel in a place where you have fortitude, you have resilience, you have power. Look back at times in your life where you have persevered, overcome, triumphed over challenging issues, situations. Got nasty people out of your life. Had strong boundaries for yourself and lived to tell the tale of living a better life because of it. These are the things to remember and anchor into now. They will be the fortifying energy and the resolve that you need in the triggering days ahead, and there will be many. And I hope that this has inspired you. I hope that this has brought you some power and peace and some inspiration. And I know there's a lot of you feeling alone right now. You are not. You are not. If you identify as being an outlier, like I do, that's not being contrarian for the sake of it. That's not saying bullshit on that for the sake of it. Or trying to be divisive for the sake of it, or a rebel for the sake of it. The true outliers are the ones who are looking at everything that's happening and seeing what's really going wrong, and seeing the bigger picture, and seeing the trajectory of that and how that plays out and how it is not good for humanity. And we're willing to speak up because we know really there's nothing to lose and there's nothing to fear. And if you feel the light has already won, prove it. Take some action based on that. We need to connect with more light bearers. Together we are stronger. That's why this group is here. That's what this group is about. I'm sending a massive wave of love to you all. And peace and power in the days ahead. And I want to thank you for all of you who have been connecting with me and sending me love and sending me healing. There have been many of you. And I can't thank you enough. I can't appreciate you enough for all of that. You mean so much to me. I love my community. I appreciate my community. You are all so amazing. I'm sending you all just a giant virtual hug right now. All right. Feeling it, sharing good energy with you all. Good. And if we could all just send love to each other and bolster each other here. Wherever you are, in every corner of the globe, whatever you're dealing with personally today, whatever you're dealing with collectively today, I'm sending you love, peace, and power. Know your light. Know you are a master. Know that is your destiny here in this timeline. Know that there is nothing to fear.